was nobody like Laura Nyro before Laura Nyro. She was part of the Great American Songbook. She was the next chapter. She was one of the most influential songwriters of the 60s and 70s. She was from an era of music where you could change the world with your music. It's almost a religious experience. And she could change the molecules by the way she sang. Nobody could ever say Laura Nyro was copying somebody. She was an original.
Could you talk a little bit about how music worked in your family?
Every Friday night, we would all gather around the piano. And literally, you had a fight to sing. They wouldn't let me sing for until I was 13 years old.
How did you come to the music of Laura Nyro?
I took the 85 bus to Hollywood Boulevard to this little record store near the Egyptian Theater. And I saw this album, and it was a black album with Laura Nyro's face on it, like a religious painting. The thing I remember about it is I lived with it for 2 years. I took it to school every day. I ate my lunch on it. I took it to my best friend's house, Rochelle, and we'd play it. And I even rolled a few joints on it. All through my life, I've loved her songs. They've been a part of me.
There must have been a part of you that looked at these songs and said, "Lady, you're reading my mail."
Yes, there was a part of me that thought that, how did Laura Nyro know all about my family? My dad was bipolar, and in the 60s, he wasn't diagnosed. He wasn't diagnosed till, I think, 1968. He'd be gone about a month, and then he'd come back, and my parents were very good at making up. They were very dramatic people. They'd love to make up. And I didn't think anything of it until I was in the studio recording He's a Runner, and I realized I'm singing to my mother, who's no longer here, about my father, who's no longer here, and I had to stop. You know, I had sort of a little panic attack, I think, and I said, you know, I peeled a layer too deep. And it's amazing. I really think that through the miracle of Laura Nyro and technology, recording, that my mother heard me, that it healed something in me.
He's a runner, and he'll run away with the midnight train. Woman ain't been born who can make him sing. Woman, get away while you can.
If she walked through that door right now, Laura Nyro, what would you say to her?
I immediately get very emotional thinking about that. My reaction is I'd say, I hope you like what I did. I try to honor you. Ten years ago, I did an album on Bobby Troup, another wonderful songwriter. And it got me into the career I sort of have been doing for the last 10 years, which is sort of the swinging cool guy. But yet, I guess there was something in me that wanted more. So doing the Laura Nyro project got me really in touch with my emotions. And I think my music has gone to another level emotionally. I'm still swinging, which I always like to do, but I also have been connecting a little bit more on an emotional level. No way could I duplicate what Laura Nyro did, so I had to find my way into it. And she touched me in such a deep way that, of course, I was going to strike something. The thing that captivated me about the music of Laura Nyro was two things. Number one, she wrote very sophisticated music. But the other thing is her other influences were exactly my influences. Soul music, Broadway, and jazz.
Time is gonna bring you spring. Don't let the devil fool you.
I thought there was a lot of jazz in Laura Nyro's music, and that hadn't been taken advantage of before. I looked for the jazz default button. I always said, okay, if there's jazz in this song, I can probably work with it. And one of the interesting things she did a lot was something called neologism, which is, that's a mouthful. It means you take a word like Surrey, which is a horse-drawn carriage, and you give it a new meaning. Like in the song Stone Soul Picnic, can you Surrey means, you know, can you get down?
Oh, can you Surrey? Oh, can you Surrey down? No need to worry, I'm so come on down to a stone soul picnic. Come on down to a stone soul picnic.
So she did that all the time. She has another one, come on baby, do a slow float. You're a good-looking riverboat. And she's not talking about swimming techniques or aquatic vessels. I think every songwriter that I know of my age loves Randy Newman, loves Jimmy Webb, loves Harry Nilsson, loves Joni Mitchell, and loves Laura Nyro. And the reason we as songwriters love these people is their lyrics are great, their music is really wonderful, and they're unique. There's nobody like them. And Laura Nyro definitely was like nobody else. There's people that followed her, like Ricky Lee Jones and Tori Amos, that took a lot from her, and even Amy Winehouse. But there was nobody like Laura Nyro before Laura Nyro.
Come on, people, come on, children. Let's go down to the Glory River. Gonna wash you up, wash you down. Gonna lay the devil down. Gonna lay that devil down.
Joni Mitchell and Laura Nyro were two great singer-songwriters, but they seemed to be working opposite sides of the streets. Do you want to talk a little bit about their differences?
Well, I loved both Joni Mitchell and Laura Nyro. I played both teams. Laura Nyro was New York, and Joni Mitchell claimed Los Angeles and Laurel Canyon as her domain. You know, I used to go and see Laura Nyro at the Troubadour. Many times when I was there, Joni Mitchell was at the end of the row, taking notes. So they were definitely contemporaries, definitely friends. There was nothing ever like Laura Nyro on stage. She was goth before it was cool. She would always dress in black or purple. She'd have black fingernails, her really long black hair, in sort of a prom dress that had gone awry. And she was really shy and nervous. So she'd walk out there and sort of stand in the middle of the stage and sort of like absorb the adulation. So everything between the songs where she'd whisper, "I'm so glad to be here tonight." And then she'd sing like a 40-year-old black woman, you know. She would pepper her concerts with other composers' songs. And she would do everything from Burt Bacharach's Walk On By to the Kingston Trio's Tom Dooley to Rodgers and Hart's He Was Too Good to Me. She was from an era of music that you and I are from where you could change the world with your music. It's almost a religious experience. When she was doing a concert, it was like a religious experience. And she could change the molecules by the way she sang.
Billy's blue with his head hanging to his shoes. Right the wrong or play a song. He's Billy's blues. Billy's down, he was born, he was bound to lose. Somebody right the wrong or play a song. He's Billy's blues. He's Billy's blues. Some folks have it good. And some folks have it no good. Billy's got it bad. He's so endlessly sad. Billy's blue with his head hanging to his shoes. Somebody right the wrong or play a song. These Billy's blues. These Billy's blues.
Hi, this is Mark Winkler, and you can get my new CD, The Laura Nyro Project, at Amazon, CD Baby, and iTunes. And check out my website, markwinklermusic.com.